So we did some naked boardroom chat time where we just laid in bed, buck naked, and just had an amazing conversation. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was intimate. It was deep. It was meaningful. It was purposeful. It was awesome. And then I said, hey, babe, I got to get ready for the day. Got to start knocking out some stuff. I'm about to jump in the shower. Do you want to continue our NBC chat in the shower? She's like, totally, no sweat. I got a shower too. So we've done that a number of times. So we've done shower ops where we have chats in the shower quite a few times, which has been phenomenal. Love it, because we have some of our best conversations in the shower because there's no distractions in the shower. And we're just chatting, and it's been awesome. Sometimes it leads to sex, but not every time. And frankly, I don't care either way, to be honest with you, because I guess sometimes I care, sometimes I don't care. And what's been a huge blessing is Kathy's been super flexible, which that's been one of the challenges in the past because of her abandonment, intimacy, anorexia. She has not always been flexible. Also because of one of her strengths, which is from a book called Strengths Finder 2.0, she's deliberative, and deliberative people have plans for their plans so that they can plan. They almost have every minute planned out. Like they don't like surprises, they don't like changes, because it's all not part of their plan. And she's deliberative also, and strategic, which means she is very good at her planning because she's a strategic thinker. So, but graciously, because she's working on overcoming her abandonment issues and intimacy anorexia, she has been very, very gracious that when I get, in this case, where I was, feeling pleasant and unpleasant emotions, and I just needed to chat, she was flexible enough where like, yeah, let's do NBC, naked boardroom chat time, ops in the bed, in the shower. And in this situation, it did lead to sex, which was great. It was intimate. It was passionate. It was awesome.
Welcome to the EQ for Entrepreneurs podcast. Like most business owners, you already know you need good business and marketing strategies to scale and be profitable. But at some point, you've hit the dreaded wall where you feel stuck and frustrated. EQ for Entrepreneurs is for business owners and leaders who are honest enough to admit that they just might be the ones holding their business back and are brave enough to change that.
We're Noble and Kathy, and every week we're having candid conversations about all things emotional intelligence and how growing that has allowed us to get out of our own way and is radically transforming both our businesses and our personal lives. This is the secret sauce strategy for modern entrepreneurs who are tired of hustling without seeing results and want to grow a business and a life that they love.
What is going on, EQ for Entrepreneurs? Super stoked about today's episode, talking about a subject it is not very often or frequently talked about, and I'm excited to talk about it because it's not talked about a lot. And so we're going to talk about sex, baby. We're going to talk about sex. All right. So definitely I will keep my day job and never become a singer. Sex is funny because, and I don't, I say maybe I don't know why, but it's just interesting, the stuff that society and culture feels comfortable talking about, and that society and culture stuff they don't feel comfortable talking about. And I think sex is definitely falls on one of those sides that most folks don't feel comfortable talking about, which I'm not sure. I mean, obviously it's intimate and private and all that other stuff, but I don't know. And maybe I'm fine talking about it now because I'm healthier emotionally. That's the only thing I can think of. And also because I'm getting older, I don't care. I don't care. So, and because this is an area I've struggled in. My wife and I have struggled in this area for 25 years. We've struggled in our sex life. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. Thank you guys for those of y'all that are watching on our YouTube channel, for those that are listening to our podcast, EQ for Entrepreneurs. Thank you guys so much. We're right around maybe 35,000 downloads right now. Thank you for rating, reviewing, subscribing, sharing those episodes that you feel are impactful to you and may make a difference to some of your friends and colleagues. So, like I just shared earlier, my wife and I have struggled with our sex lives for the vast majority of our 25-year marriage. And for those of y'all that are on YouTube, you're going to see me kind of looking down. I've got some notes. I don't want to miss anything here. So she had abandonment issues from her childhood that led to, so what are the consequences when you've got abandonment issues, when you feel like those closest to you are going to abandon you? And here's the challenging thing with childhood emotions and emotional injuries is that most of the time, because we're children, we are not self-aware enough to know when we have been injured emotionally. And maybe even if we are aware of when we've been injured emotionally, we don't know the depth or the degree to which we've been injured emotionally and the corresponding consequences of those emotional injuries. And so, for example, what did abandonment look like? What does that mean? Well, it was so deep in her, it actually led to something that they call intimacy anorexia. A psychologist has coined that term, and it is an addiction to avoid intimacy. And not just, I'm not just talking sex in this intimacy anorexia. This is in relationships. This is in your social relationships. This is in family relationships. This is any type of closeness or getting close. People with this, this addiction, intimacy anorexia, have an addiction to avoid any sight, smell, semblance of intimacy. Well, I'm sure you can kind of walk the dog on that and see how that's going to play out in life. Man, I mean, life is relationships. It's a collection of relationships. And if you have a friend or a family member that consistently does not let people get close, they may fall in that category of intimacy anorexia. And I'd research it. I'd study it. I'd research it. It is a real deal and has very real consequences. And so, again, imagine getting married. Man, I'm excited to be married. So excited, man. I'm crazy stoked to be married to my awesome wife. Only to discover that she wants nothing to do with intimacy, nothing to do with closeness. And again, I'm not just talking about sex. Sex was definitely one of those areas, but that wasn't the only area, just period. And me, Mr. Warm Fuzzy, grew up in with a Hispanic mom, super loving mom, super loving dad. My dad was I'm a second generation hugger. In fact, I just did an episode on that, previous episode on that. So hugging is for real in my family. And so super loving family. And so to get married to somebody who's gives me the Heisman every day, emotionally, physically, in every area, it's like, it was brutal. Now, how God worked is we got involved in business very early on in our marriage. And so my coping mechanism was to just work hard. And she's what's called a choleric melancholy personality, from a book called Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. My personality is sanguine choleric. So in those early days, with our massive dysfunction going on in our marriage, in our relationship, we just worked our butt off in business, and it worked. It was great. It totally, I say great, I'm being facetious. It totally cloaked and covered our marriage and relational dysfunction. Now, what I brought to the marriage was what I share almost every episode is my self-sabotage, my self-hatred, my low self-worth, my self-condemnation, my insecurities, my emotional neediness, my emotional immaturity. And so I came into the marriage. So and here's what we've noticed. This is a massive point, y'all. Massive point. It is amazing, and I'm about to show you how amazing this is. how so often, you hear sometimes opposites attract. And in many, many cases, that's true. I've met some exceptions, but that's true in a lot of cases. Opposites attract of personalities and fortunately, unfortunately, even love languages. Well, here's another example of how opposites attract. Her emotional dysfunction totally fit perfectly with my emotional dysfunction. So while we had very different emotional dysfunctions, both of our emotional dysfunctions fit like a glove. And since that revelation, that epiphany, that insight, I have noticed in couple after couple after couple of how not only personalities are different in that relationship, but also emotional dysfunction is different and fits like a glove. One almost feeds the other. So while she was operating from her emotional dysfunction of abandonment and intimacy anorexia, which she was not aware of at the time, of course, it wasn't like a conscious decision. This is the power of emotions and how emotions impact our decision-making process, whether or not you're aware of it. Well, how it impacted me, or how her dysfunction fit with my dysfunction was when she would, so for example, for the first couple of years, I'd say, hey babe, the five, for you guys that are familiar with the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, which is gifts, personal touch or physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, and quality time. Those are the 5 love languages. It's a book. Again, that one's by Gary Chapman, another excellent book. When I would bring up my love languages, she would bust my chops, like, oh, okay. She'd roll her eyes, huff and puff a little bit, and then she'd like stick her finger out and touch my arm, like, okay, we good? Or she'd pat me on the head, all right, we good? And so now, but again, I didn't realize she was struggling or suffering from abandonment issues. I didn't realize that she had emotional intimacy anorexia. Well, and then for me, with my dysfunction, how my dysfunction kicked in was with that mistreatment of me. Oh, I deserve it. I did, with all my insecurities, self-condemnation, self-hatred, self, low self-worth. I'm like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to be treated. This is exactly how I'm supposed to be treated. I don't deserve my love languages to be spoken. I don't deserve my love language to be met. I don't deserve to have my love tank filled up. I don't deserve to be treated properly because of how bad I am and how worthless I am. And I'm not worth my skin. Like, yeah, this is exactly right. This is exactly how it's supposed to play out. And so I stopped after a couple of years. I just stopped bringing up my feelings or hey, kind of sucking my love tanks, that kind of thing. And after a couple of years of how she would respond, again, because of my dysfunction, right? So you see how perfect match her emotional dysfunction fit my emotional dysfunction. And which obviously and unsurprisingly led to some massive train wrecks in our relationship. Massive, massive train wrecks. By God's grace, after 20 years of lots of emotional dysfunction and our marriage dysfunction. But here's the thing, we masked it well. We put the smiley face on, we played the game, we completely 100% faking the funk on the nasty dunk in terms of how we were, our outside face. Morgan Snyder in his book Becoming a King calls it the fig leaf that we all put on, the false self. So our false self, we put on the smiley face and, oh man, Noble and Kathy have such a great marriage. They have such a great relationship. Inside I was sucking. We both were sucking. And so, but thank God, by God's grace, after lots of train wrecks, lots of dysfunction, 20 years later, I yelled at my wife. You guys know this story. Yelled at my wife 3 times in 3 weeks. She said 3 things. Don't ever do that again. You've never done this before. You have issues. And we went to counseling. Counselor, right, started turning me on to these 2 revolutionary new concepts called feelings and emotions. And that started our journey. That started our emotional growth journey, both of us. Because again, so for me, I was introduced to feelings and emotions. Kathy was introduced to, oh crap, you have intimacy anorexia. And we're both like, what in the world? What is that? And so, oh, well, you've got abandonment issues. And like, what? Again, she wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of all my emotional dysfunction. But here we were living our life, quote unquote, living our best life, which you can't. We were operating at 20% capacity. So think about this, y'all. Entrepreneur for 20 years, multiple businesses, had a relative amount of success, financially independent at 30 years old. She was financially independent at 27 years old. 20 plus years of emotional dysfunction, both of us, operating at 20 to 30% capacity, unbeknownst to us, because neither one of us were aware of our own emotional dysfunction. So boom, we started the emotional growth journey 5 years ago. And as many of you know that have been following us, has led to ridiculous blessings and breakthroughs in every single area of my life. Led me to starting this podcast, leading me to, we started a business, our EQ, our emotional intelligence leader consulting business, our EQ course, our membership, EQ membership. None of that stuff would have happened had we not been growing emotionally. This particular topic and area, of course, is on sex. So because over 20 years of not expressing my feelings and desires and that kind of thing, again, massive consequences. Well, as a result of the emotional growth and emotional healing, the last 24 hours have been really interesting. And I'm gonna give you context. Yesterday was one of the highest points in my life ever, which is like, how is that possible? Well, for a lot of reasons that I don't know that I'll go into detail now necessarily. So I guess maybe I'll go in a little bit. So a guy called me out of nowhere. I had been homies with I've been homies with probably 5 or 8 years. And then we had a huge falling out. He wrote me this massive letter that of all the different ways that I had kind of let him down and failed him, and basically said, dude, I'm done with you and that kind of thing. And boom, that was it. So 15 years of no communications. He reached out of the blue, literally within the last couple of days, and said, dude, I'm so sorry I sent that letter. I was totally emotionally, I was just in a very bad spot emotionally needy, that kind of thing. And I said, well, he's like, so, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm like, dude, I said, it's crazy because God had just put him on my heart the week prior. And every time God had put him on my heart, I'd prayed for him. Wherever he's at in the country, God, just bless this guy, because he's a super dude. And I was super bummed that, our relationship had gone south. I didn't have the emotional maturity and emotional tools to restore the relationship because of all my emotional dysfunction. And so when he said, hey, dude, I'm sorry, I'm like, bro, well, unbeknownst to you, or maybe not unbeknownst to you, I was completely emotionally dysfunctional and needy and all that stuff as well. And so anyways, bottom line is we restored our relationship. And there is some massive possibilities also for doing some EQ, because now he's a big cheese executive, and he's like, dude, I want you to put together an emotionally intelligent leader development course for my executives, and like a couple of them. And I was just overwhelmed by God's grace and God's just blessing. Like I had no idea. Number one, I had no intent in reconnecting with him, that I didn't even know that was an option or possibility. That wasn't even on my mind or heart to start connecting with him again. I had no idea what he was doing. I had no idea. And so that massive blessing has developed within the last couple days. Then also yesterday, we got, I don't even know what the right verbiage is, an organization is wanting us to lead their organization. And, it's super exciting opportunity that both of us feel very strongly about. And so we accepted, we accepted. Another massive, like, wow, it's massive. And it's a pretty big project. And then I also interviewed with 13 different large, some national media organizations, from podcasts, massive podcasters, TV, radio, print media, some massive things. I had zero expectation. I didn't know. I didn't know if any of them were going to be interested in emotional intelligence and what I bring to the table, or I just had no concept. I had no expectations. 70% of them want to do something with me. They want to, whether it's write an article, do a TV interview, a radio interview, a podcast interview. 70% of these guys yesterday. And I was like, what in the world is going on? Like, God, what are you doing here? Where are you taking me? What's going on? And so I'm leading up to the story now of getting to sex. I'm taking a long route, obviously. And then this morning, I wake up to a text that one of my very close friends, 26-year-old daughters, died. Very, very tragically. She has a 2-year-old daughter, and that was incredibly emotional. Called him up, talked to him for probably 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes. We cried, we cussed, we vented, he lives in a whole other part of the country, and went from mountaintop to the valley in 12 hours. And, I'm like, I said, babe, can we, like, I need some chat time. And I call it NBC time, not News or National Broadcast Corporation, but Naked Boardroom Chat is how I'm calling it. NBC Naked Boardroom Chat. Gonna sound crazy to you all, but it is what it is. I don't care if you like it, you don't like it, doesn't matter to me. We have done it on a couple occasions, and it just leads to some tremendous conversation. And it's, for me, I love intimacy. Obviously that's been an area that Kathy's working on and growing in, and I know it makes her a little uncomfortable, but she totally was like, absolutely, let's do it. So, because I said, babe, I've got to work through some of these things, because I'm still working through the highs from yesterday and the low from today. And I said, babe, so can we do some NBC time? Because I just need to work through some of these heavy things with you, if you don't mind. And she's like, totally, let's do it, 100%. She's down. So we did some naked boardroom chat time, where we just laid in bed, buck naked, and just had an amazing conversation. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was intimate. It was deep. It was meaningful. It was purposeful. It was awesome. And then I said, hey, babe, I got to get ready for the day. You got to start knocking out some stuff. I'm about to jump in the shower. Do you want to continue our NBC chat in the shower? She's like, totally, no sweat. I got to shower too. So we've done that a number of times. So we've done shower ops where we have chats in the shower quite a few times, which has been phenomenal. Love it, because we have some of our best conversations in the shower, because there's no distractions in the shower. And we're just chatting, and it's been awesome. Sometimes it leads to sex, but not every time. And frankly, I don't care either way, to be honest with you, because I guess sometimes I care, sometimes I don't care. And And what's been a huge blessing is Kathy's been super flexible, which that's been one of the challenges in the past because of her abandonment, intimacy, anorexia. She has not always been flexible. Also because of one of her strengths, which is from a book called StrengthsFinder 2.0, she's deliberative, and deliberative people have plans for their plans so that they can plan. They almost have every minute planned out. Like they don't like surprises, they don't like changes because it's all not part of their plan. And she's deliberative also and strategic, which means she is very good at her planning because she's a strategic thinker. So, but graciously, because she's working on overcoming her abandonment issues and intimacy anorexia, she has been very, very gracious that when I get, in this case, where I was, feeling pleasant and unpleasant emotions and I just needed to chat, she was flexible enough where like, yeah, let's do NBC, naked boardroom chat time, ops in the bed, in the shower. And in this situation, it did lead to sex, which was great. It was intimate. It was passionate. It was awesome. But the thing is, what I was so proud of myself, this is literally, I know some of you guys are like, wow, dude, you have serious issues. Well, I have had serious issues, no doubt about that. I don't argue or disagree with that. And I am so excited and thankful for my emotional growth because I would have never, well, this is literally one of the first times I have ever, this may be the second time, max third time, but honestly, it may be the first or second time that I have ever gone to Kathy and said, hey, can we do NBC ops? Can we do naked boardroom chat time in the bed? And then also say, once we were done there, just chatting, hanging out with all these emotional conversations, these deep conversations, hey, do you want to continue the conversation in the shower? And she knows too, like, I don't have any expectation that it leads to sex or not. She knows that. Because for me, again, as a guy who just loves intimacy, like I just love being close and naked, and it's great. But, I'm open if it goes further, but I'm also open if it doesn't, or I'm fine, right? And so, but what's been a blessing too is that she's been open also, which has been massive in helping me with my, in this case, sexual, kind of emotional dysfunction. Because I've been so terrified to ask for fear of rejection. I've been so scared that, hey babe, do you want to do NBC time? Not even sex, just chat naked. I've been so terrified, and man, God forbid I ever wanted sex and said, hey babe, can we have sex? Because I haven't. I've been terrified for the vast 98, 99% of my marriage. And so this is a massive victory for me to feel comfortable and confident and safe to just ask, hey babe, I've got a lot of stuff on my brain, a lot of emotions going right now, pleasant and unpleasant. Would you be open to having NBC time, right now? And again, so thankful all the growth that she has been doing, because she said, absolutely, totally down. Let's chat. And then also she was open and willing to continue our NBC chat in the shower too. And so this was just a massive victory for both of us. But I know for me, because again, I've been so scared and so terrified over the past 2 decades to even bring up sex or talk about sex or intimacy or just intimacy, period, because of all my emotional dysfunction that I've been had to overcome and that kind of thing. So, and I never would have thought that after 25 years of marriage that there would be a snowball's chance in hell that our sex life would improve. And I'm not blowing smoke up your nose. I'm telling you, I never thought that would have been freaking possible. That, dude, 25 years teaching an old dog new tricks, seriously, not a snowball's chance in hell. And by God's grace, He has allowed us and helped us both to be very intentional, to grow emotionally, so that she could overcome and work on and heal from her abandonment issues and her intimacy anorexia, and for me, all my self-hatred, self-condemnation, low self-worth, all those issues, to where I'm getting more comfortable at being open and honest and transparent and vulnerable with my deep emotions and feelings and desires, and not feeling unworthy, unimportant, unvaluable, worthless, but feeling, no, I'm God's kid, just like my wife is God's kid, and I want to respect and love and appreciate her boundaries in every area, and I expect the same. I want her to love, appreciate, respect, and value my boundaries and my desires as well. And so it's just, I just wanted to share that massive victory with you guys. Again, I'm sure you guys like, dude, you were like in kindergarten in the old sex life world, and I'm not ashamed, like whatever, it is what it is. But maybe it will somehow apply or encourage you in your life somewhere. Maybe it's not in your sex life, maybe it's your finances or some other area. But I just want to share that massive win with you guys. And I just want to thank you guys all, for following us, and again, rating and reviewing and sharing, subscribing, to our podcast and our YouTube channel, for those episodes that have been meaningful for you, that you've shared and commented on. Thank you all so much. And for you guys that have shared your own emotional growth journeys with us, man, thank you for doing that. And remember, it's a perfect example of these quotes I like to end with. Unaddressed emotional issues don't get better over time. They actually compound. Unaddressed emotional issues don't get better over time. They actually compound. And emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally. Emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally.